So Tim Dillon is continuing his streak of being annoyed at MAGA and the Republicans. Now, this is a guy, mind you, who not only is he part of the Rogan sphere, which was known for coddling Trump's nuts, but he also gave a softball interview to J.D. Vance. And that's kind of disappointing because Tim Dillon is super talented, really funny, really charismatic, and you love having him on your side. When he's right about something, you're sitting there cheering him on. There's no doubt about that. But he's continuing an interesting streak here of trying to somewhat hold these people accountable by mocking them relentlessly. So he doesn't seem to like the idea very much of Alligator Alcatraz, and he pops off. Let's listen.
Collecting people that are law-abiding, that have been in the country a very long time, that have committed no crime. You're picking people up in church parking lots at high school graduations. It's inhumane, and I think a lot of people feel that way. But in fairness to the Trump team, they did think of this and say, what if we put them all in a prison surrounded by alligators? Would that make it feel more humane? And it's that type of forward thinking that I think we should appreciate. Like, I think Trump and his people were like, sure, people find these raids to be a bit abrupt and, soulless, unkind. But if we then took the people we swept up and put them in a prison built in an alligator swamp, would that make people feel better about it? So I think they're at least recognizing that their policy has been a bit controversial, and they're saying, how could we make it more palatable? Is there what about a fortress surrounded by lions? Would that make more sense? If we got a bunch of gardeners who are in the country illegally and people are like, well, that seems a little fucked up, and you're like, hold on a minute. You don't know where we're taking them. I'm like, oh, where? To see a judge or something? No, we're taking them to a fortress surrounded by lions. What if we put them in a cage in a snake pit? Have we thought about that? Because I don't think alligators are the only animal we could consider, because America, the great thing about it actually is that there's many different regions and many different kind of killer animals. Bear with me. I spent a lot of time on the east end of Long Island, no offense. Montauk, the tip of Long Island, a underwater penal colony. It's a big shark cage. And the migrants are in it, and the sharks keep swimming by them. Why stop at alligators? Now, I know you might say, well, it seems inhumane to just surround people with wildlife that could kill them. Sure, but we've got a lot of wildlife. We don't pay alligators. Here's the good news. They're free. Now, I'm just saying, it's a great way, I think, to show that it's not just a heartless policy. It's a policy that we've put a lot of thought into.
I love it, and it's funny, but also, what'd you expect? Remember, guys, Trump, I believe it was in 2016, on the campaign trail, he said back then that he wanted a southern border wall, but then a moat right by the border wall, and the moat should have alligators and snakes and things of that nature. He wanted a medieval-ass solution. That's what he wanted. This was 2016. This is the guy who, when he ran this time around, was talking about legal immigrants, and he said, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets. Complete Nazi, literally, it was a lie that originated in Nazi spaces. And he spread it about legal immigrants, and then he gets in office and strips legal immigrants of their status. What did you expect? With the whole mass deportation thing, what did you expect? With him opening up CCOT to people from this country, the concentration camp in El Salvador, now he wants to send 30,000 people to Gitmo. This is funny, and I like that he's making fun of them, but I don't know, we kind of warned that shit like this was coming. The one part of Trump that was super fucking consistent every step of the way is the mass deportation stuff, the build the wall stuff, the fuck the immigrant stuff. So now the fuck the immigrants guy gets in office and he's doing fuck the immigrants policies. And it's like, hey man, I don't know if I like this. Well, maybe you shouldn't have sucked off J.D. Vance on your podcast then. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't want to be too hard on Tim Dillon because of the people in the Rogan sphere. I feel like he's been one of the more vocal ones against what this government has been doing, and he sort of started it, I feel like, earlier than many of the other Rogan sphere types. Like Rogan himself, every now and then he'll dip his toe in Trump criticism water and then run away at 1,000 miles an hour. I feel like Tim has been more relentless with it, in a sense. But at the same time, it's still, I don't know, it's fucking frustrating. Because it also, you get the sense that Tim's part of this group too, that's trying to wash the stench of Trumpism off of him, seeing how big of a colossal failure he's been. And we're never gonna ultimately fully get there with these people. That's the problem, right? So Crystal actually went and listened to the whole podcast, and she said most of it is funny and actually really good, and that I would enjoy it. But she said, of course, there's moments that makes you want to pull your fucking hair out. Like apparently he says about Zoran and AOC, like, oh, I get why people vote for them, I get why people do that, but that, you know, their ideology never really works. And it's like, so is this what we're going to do, Tim, from now until forever? Like enlightened, centrist, anti-establishment garbage? Because, you know, at some point you would think these people would wake up, right? And what do you mean their ideology? The closest thing that we've had as a president to AOC and to Zoran Mamdani is a guy by the name of FDR. And he was so fucking popular, he won the presidential election 4 times. It was after him that they came up with term limits because the Republicans thought, we'll never beat the Democrats again because this motherfucker was so popular. He did the New Deal. He gave everybody jobs. He taxed the rich, right? Like, Americans got a little taste of social democracy and they nutted on themselves. That's what that was. At his peak, the Democrats under FDR had 80% of Congress. 80% of Congress. 4 presidential victories, 80% of Congress, and this is the closest thing we've ever had to an AOC or Zoran in office. That's what happened. Oh, their stuff will never work. It's like, I don't know, man. They're never going to fully get there, but I'll take this for what it is. I do enjoy the relentless fucking up of Trump for his idiotic, and it's not Alligator, it's really not. It's Alligator Auschwitz. That's what it really is. And we're going to do a story on this later, but there's a journalist on the ground there, Jordan Chariton of Status Coup. Everybody go subscribe to Status Coup because he's got some wild stories that are coming out of there. First of all, I didn't even know this, but in order to build this, it's right smack dab in the middle of Native American land. So they're just like stealing more Native American land now. There's also other serious problems. As soon as this place gets hit with a fucking hurricane, it is a wrap. They're all going to die. They're all going to die. I mean, there was just a little bit of rain the other day and the whole fucking place flooded, right? I mean, you're in the middle of the Everglades, for fuck's sake. And so there's all sorts of issues with it, but Tim Dillon, I don't know, you guys tell me. I'll ask you this question like I seem to be every time now, but am I being too harsh? Am I being too harsh? I feel like I'm not, but perhaps I am. Perhaps I'm just still spiteful over the way in which these assholes gave Trump a pass, gave J.D. Vance a pass because of the vibes, you know? I mean, that's what it is. These guys love to think of themselves as like iconoclastic free thinkers. But no, you weren't. You were a wave rider. You were a narrative humper. You saw that the Trump shit was popular online, and you used your intellectual capacity to, you know, provide them with cover. That's what it was. You know, you found a way of making it more cool and more palatable to be in favor of the robber baron, billionaire, war criminal, con artist. And I guess it feels like he knows better, right? It feels like he knew better. He knew better. And now that the vibes which he was riding, now that those vibes have switched, he's sort of pulling a Rogan here where you go from just being MAGA to, all right, let's walk back a little bit here, tiptoe out of the room, and go back to just enlightened centrism. Anti-establishment enlightened centrism, which is also horse shit in this moment. Because the fact of the matter is, and these guys will never say it, but the left was right about fucking everything. We were right. We were the motherfuckers telling you, Trump's not going to release the Epstein files. I guarantee you he's not going to release the Epstein files. Why? He was already president for 4 years, and he didn't release the Epstein files. In the same way they didn't pardon Assange, he didn't pardon Snowden. These were all the things that these anti-establishment right-wingers were coping and pretending like, oh yeah, he's going to do it, bro. He's anti-establishment, bro. He didn't do it. We knew he was in the Epstein files. Go watch my video on this. It's titled Proof. Exposed. Proof Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. I lay out all the reasons we know he's in the Epstein files. And they had all these so-called anti-establishment right-wingers who are lying to themselves and pretending like, oh yeah, bro, he's going to release the Epstein files, bro, he's going to take down the deep state, bro. He is the deep state, and he's in the Epstein files. We were right about all of it. All of it. It'd be nice if some of these people, instead of retreating from their MAGA politics into enlightened centrism, just acknowledge the left is correct about everything. But they won't, because they have leftist derangement syndrome and liberal derangement syndrome and Democrat derangement syndrome. One of the things you'll never hear these people say is the following words. Kamala Harris would have been better than Donald Trump. The just undeniable, objective fact, none of them will say it. Fucking none of them will say it. So they'll continue to cope about the fact that, Elon Musk cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels and FEMA and fired 83,000 veterans and 250,000 government workers and air traffic controllers and food safety inspectors. They will cope and pretend like, bro, there's like bad in both sides, bro. Like both. I'm not even part of any team, bro. Even though I was supporting Trump, but I'm like, I'm like above the fray, bro. And like Kamala would have probably done a lot of the same stuff. I have zero tolerance for that anymore, bro. I have zero fucking tolerance for that. None whatsoever. Would Kamala Harris have fired 600 people from NOAA and the NWS? And would she have cut the number of weather balloons in the country massively? And would Kamala have sat there and not had FEMA do shit while all these people are now dying because of the poor weather forecasting that they're responsible for? Never would have happened. Never would have fucking happened. Never would have happened. But they'll go right back to their both sides bad thing. So the enlightened centrism ain't cutting it anymore. But that being said, I do enjoy Trump being roasted. And look, I'm not saying it's impossible for him to win me back over. It's possible. But it's just, you got to go further. You got to go further. Quit it with the both sides bullshit. Quit it with the both sides bullshit. And it requires saying, we were wrong about Trump, and Kamala Harris would have been better. That's what it required. We were wrong about Trump. We were conned, and Kamala Harris would have been better. That's it. Any one of these guys says that, I will do a segment with nothing but heaping, fawning praise on them. But I won't hold my breath for that. But I'll just accept this for what it is. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.